Robyn Brown sat quietly at the courtroom table, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Despite her composed appearance, a storm of emotions swirled beneath the surface. She had come into this situation prepared, determined to present a calm, dignified front. But the reality unfolding before her was anything but calm. Her daughter, Aurora Brown, approached the witness stand. Aurora had always been one of Robyn's most steadfast supporters. But as their eyes met briefly, Robyn felt the sting of distance. She had been so focused on shaping the family's future that she hadn't noticed her daughter slipping away. Aurora's voice, though steady, held a weight that filled the room. Her testimony detailed her changing view of her mother, not in anger, but in clarity. She spoke of decisions that had once seemed thoughtful, but in retrospect carried an undercurrent of personal ambition. Robyn had long positioned herself as a bridge within the family, someone who kept things together. But now that narrative was being questioned. The courtroom was silent, each word from Aurora hanging in the air. She spoke of how certain choices, while seemingly made for the family's good, had created division instead. What was once perceived as devotion now sounded like control. Robyn's image, carefully maintained over the years, was beginning to crack. Among the onlookers sat Mary, Christine, and Janelle. Their expressions were unreadable, but Robyn sensed the shift. They had all shared a life once, messy, layered, and complex. Robyn had believed her intentions were for the family's benefit, but the testimonies forced her to reckon with the impact those intentions had on others. Outside the courtroom, Kody Brown, Kody's daughter with Christine, prepared to share her own experience. She had watched, year after year, as the family's dynamic shifted. Her once vibrant father had become more withdrawn, his focus narrowing. As Kody sat for an interview, she spoke candidly about what she had observed. She recounted moments where Robyn's voice carried more weight than others, where decisions seemed skewed toward one household. She acknowledged the emotional toll that took on everyone else. Her words were calm, yet piercing. They revealed how long she had stayed silent, hoping things would change. But silence, she realized, only allowed the imbalance to grow. Back at home, Kody Brown paced the floors of his now-quiet house. His thoughts were loud and unforgiving. Coyote Pass, once a dream for unity, had become a symbol of everything that had unraveled. He had placed trust in what he thought was unwavering loyalty, only to realize too late that it had come at a cost. Janelle arrived, her face etched with exhaustion. She had been one of the first to recognize the shift, but even she hadn't grasped the full extent. "Are you ready to face it yet?" she asked, her tone even but firm. Kody didn't answer. The weight of reflection was heavy. He had made choices, some out of fear, others out of comfort, but they had consequences. His relationships with his children and wives were fractured, and for the first time, he wondered if they could ever be healed. Despite everything, a single thought lingered in his mind. I have to try. The family may have fallen apart, but they had once loved each other deeply. And somewhere beneath the mistakes and regrets, Kody hoped that thread buzzed with subdued tension as the judge called the next witness. Robyn Brown adjusted the sleeve of her blouse, her expression tight but composed. She had always been good at holding herself together in public, but today was different. Today, her daughter, Aurora, was about to testify against her. Kody Brown sat in the gallery, elbows on knees, fingers steepled under his chin. His eyes were locked on Robyn, as they always had been. He barely blinked. It wasn't just support, it was obsession. Everyone around him could see it. Aurora stepped up to the witness stand. The room fell silent. "I loved my mom," Aurora began, voice trembling slightly. "But somewhere along the way, I stopped recognizing who she was." Robyn winced but didn't interrupt. Her lawyers had told her to remain silent, emotionless. Let the evidence speak for itself. Aurora continued, eyes darting once to Kody, who wouldn't meet her gaze. I used to believe she protected our family, but she was protecting something else, her image, her control, her seat at the center. The attorney nodded, prompting her. Can you explain what you mean by control? Aurora's voice steadied. We were told who to trust, who not to trust. Christine, Janelle, even Mary. They were all made out to be unstable or selfish. But it wasn't them. It was the way things were twisted inside our home. Robyn stared down at her lap, the words slicing deeper than she'd expected. She had raised Aurora, held her through anxiety attacks, read her bedtime stories. Now her daughter's truths echoed through a courthouse packed with witnesses and cameras. Aurora wasn't done. She kept us close, too close, to the point where our independence was suffocated. We couldn't question anything without being told we were betraying her. The judge asked for clarification, and Aurora hesitated before admitting it wasn't just emotional. It was strategic. When she married Kody, things changed. Decisions were made without consulting the rest of the family. Coyote Pass, finances, even simple holidays, everything centered around Robyn's preferences. Kody shifted in his seat, but said nothing, still fixated. Outside the courthouse, Christine and Janelle stood with Mykelti, arms folded, expressions grim. Mykelti had remained silent long enough. She'd seen the effects Robyn had on her father, her siblings, and their family's vision of Coyote Pass. Now it was her turn. Inside, Mykelti took the stand. I was raised in a plural family. That meant unity, sacrifice, love. At least it used to. The attorney asked her to speak about her father's ownership of Coyote Pass. It's gone, she said. He's no longer the primary owner. Most of us relinquished our interest after the relationships collapsed. But my mom, Christine, fought for her fair share, and eventually so did Janelle. Legal ownership was restructured. My dad no longer holds title over the majority of it. Gasps rippled through the room. Robyn's eyes snapped to Kody, who remained stone-faced. The land had been his symbol of family legacy, his dream. Now it was gone. But Mykelti wasn't finished. What I've come to realize, she said carefully, is that Robyn encouraged my dad's fixation on that land because it kept him tied to her household. She knew it gave her leverage. She framed it as building a future, but it was always about maintaining control. The judge interjected. Are you saying Robyn manipulated the property decisions? Yes, Mykelti replied. She leveraged his loyalty, his guilt, and his need to feel like the leader of something. While the rest of us begged him to divide his time and energy fairly, she kept building walls around him. The attorney produced documents showing a series of financial transfers, land improvements, utilities, and building costs, all approved solely through Robyn and Kody's household. Robyn's lips parted in disbelief. She had worked so hard to stay within the lines, nothing explicitly illegal, nothing traceable. But now her own stepdaughter was drawing connections no one had seen before. Kody stood suddenly, unable to stay silent any longer. You don't understand, he barked. Coyote Pass was going to bring us back together. Robyn wasn't manipulating me. She was helping me fix the mess you all made. The judge called for order. Mykelti didn't flinch. Dad, the only person you ever tried to fix things with was Robyn. You stopped calling your other kids. You stopped visiting. When Mom left, you didn't fight for her. You fought to keep the land. You fought to keep Robyn. The silence in the room felt heavy, suffocating. In the back, Mary quietly left the courtroom. She didn't need to hear the rest. For her, the truth had settled in long ago. What they were all witnessing now was a painful unraveling that had taken too long to come. Back on the stand, Aurora turned to face the gallery. Her voice shook slightly, but her message was clear. "I don't hate my mother," she said, "but I had to choose honesty over loyalty. And that's what this is. It's not vengeance. It's truth, even if it hurts." Robyn's composure finally cracked. Tears welled in her eyes, and she reached for a tissue. But no one moved to comfort her, not even Kody. When court adjourned, reporters swarmed the steps. Cameras flashed as the Brown family members exited, each bearing the weight of everything they had said, and everything still unsaid. Inside the courtroom, Kody remained seated long after the others had gone. Coyote Pass was no longer his. His children were estranged. His wives were gone. And yet he stared at the door Robyn had just walked through, as if willing her to come back and tell him none of it was real, that this hadn't all been for nothing. But she didn't return. The dream had crumbled, and all he had left was the echo of a truth he'd refused to see.